One of the most infamous men in the world, Andrew Tate.
If I were to see a girl on a private plane on Instagram, for example, I would assume that a man put her on that private plane. I would not assume she bought it herself. Perhaps that makes me misogynistic.
Romanian police are expanding their investigation of the former kickboxer Andrew Tate.
The controversial influencer Andrew Tate has been accused of putting a gun in a woman's face.
Police in Romania are questioning Andrew Tate into alleged crimes, including sex with a minor and money laundering.
Andrew Tate was born in Chicago, Illinois, to Emery and Eileen Tate. From the very start, his life was built around pressure and discipline. Andrew and his younger brother Tristan weren't just raised, they were molded to compete, to fight, to win. Their father, Emery Tate, wasn't just any man. He was a professional chess genius, an ex-military veteran, and a no-nonsense figure who demanded excellence every single day. He drilled discipline and education into his sons like it was life or death. By the age of 5, Andrew wasn't playing games with kids his age. He was battling adults across chessboards and shocking them with his brilliance. Life inside the Tate household was far from glamorous. The family lived with a low standard of living, scraping by while their mother Eileen stayed at home, holding the family together, and their father Emery chased fame through chess. But Emery had demons. When he wasn't dazzling opponents on the chessboard, he was either gambling away his winnings in smoky casinos or stepping out on his wife, cheating without remorse. This chaos made childhood a grind for Andrew and Tristan, who grew up in a storm of struggle and instability. At just 11 years old, Andrew's world was flipped upside down. His mother packed up their lives, took him and Tristan, and moved to her hometown of Luton, a tough little spot just northwest of London. For Andrew, it was devastating. He had to leave behind his Chicago friends, and worse, abandon chess altogether since it wasn't as celebrated in England. The competitive fire inside him didn't die, though. It just shifted. Instead of chess, Andrew threw himself into sports like karate and boxing.
Look at the camera, boy.
Hey, Andrew.
What you got for daddy? A leaf?
Sharpening a new edge. By 17, he stepped into Storm Kickboxing Gym in Luton, and everything changed. Education no longer mattered to him. He dropped out and built his entire life around becoming a fighter. From 17 to 22, it was all or nothing. Training, fighting, and living like a man possessed. Meanwhile, Tristan took a different path, focusing on education and sales, believing he could one day bankroll Andrew's fighting career. The sacrifice paid off, because at just 22 years old, Andrew Tate didn't just fight. He conquered, claiming his very first world kickboxing title. With Tristan backing him in his own relentless grind, Andrew Tate rose fast, snatching not 1, not 2, but 3 world kickboxing championship titles before even hitting 28. That kind of glory didn't just crown him a fighter, it cracked open the doors to media fame. Suddenly, cameras wanted him, and one of the biggest chances came when he was cast on the English reality show Big Brother. Andrew didn't treat the show like entertainment, he treated it like war. He walked in determined to win and carried himself like the house was his kingdom. He never bit his tongue, firing off controversial takes left and right, even hurling insults at fellow contestants. His cocky, arrogant attitude lit up the screen. Audiences either loved him or hated him, but nobody could ignore him. Eventually, his explosive personality got him booted from the house. But by then, the damage, or maybe the magic, was already done. Andrew Tate had become social media's newest obsession. This was just the start of Andrew's social media takeover. Not long after Big Brother, he was back in the ring, invited to fight on Infusion to represent the USA in kickboxing.
The real reason I got kicked out of Big Brother is because I was too good at triggering everyone. So what happened was I was only in there for about 9 days and 4 people walked out, and every single man in there at some point had threatened me with violence. So they took me into the diary room and they said, we're really concerned about the dynamic of the house. This is all off camera.
Yeah.
I was like, well, the rules of Big Brother, we all signed a contract saying no one's allowed to make threats. I'm not threatening anybody. All these people are threatening me. You just shut down their threats. I'm like, yeah, but people, you're very controlled and they're more emotional, and we just want to guarantee that in the event of an altercation, you won't hit anybody. And they must have sat around, all the producers sat around and thought, shit. Oh, yeah, shit. Over the next 3 months, this is gonna happen. Yeah, and he's gonna hurt them.
His style was unlike anyone else's, orthodox but deadly. That's where he earned the name Cobra Tate. He'd sit back, wait like a predator for the perfect opening, then strike with vicious side kicks and crushing backhands. In those tournaments, he wasn't just winning, he was destroying, knocking opponents out cold in the very first or second rounds. With all eyes on him, Andrew rode the momentum and snatched his 4th World Kickboxing Championship title. Fame brought money, big money. His fight purses skyrocketed. And by then, the Tate brothers were finally living good. Tristan was stacking around 1,000 pounds a week, while Andrew was cashing fight checks that hit nearly 40,000 pounds after tax every 6 months. But Andrew wasn't satisfied. He treated life like a chessboard, and to him, the smart move wasn't to keep fighting. It was to flip his status into something bigger. That's when he made a shocking pivot. Walking away from kickboxing, he dove into business. And his very first profitable venture, an adult webcam studio, which he and Tristan built from scratch. The setup was simple, but controversial. They recruited women online and in person, training them to become cam models who chatted and performed for paying clients on adult sites. Andrew wasn't just chasing belts anymore, he was chasing empires. Andrew and Tristan weren't just running a studio, they were running the whole machine. They handled everything: the marketing, the scripts, the tech, the payments, and even the direct engagement with clients. Andrew especially leaned on his sharp emotional intelligence and manipulative tactics, pulling cash out of desperate men who thought they were building real connections with the webcam models. The formula worked. It was insanely profitable, pulling in 6 figures every single month. Andrew saw what others didn't. He noticed the women in the webcam game weren't thinking strategically. They weren't maximizing their earnings. So he stepped in, restructuring their work, turning some models from making just a few thousand a month to raking in 5 figures. To Andrew, it was a win-win. The women earned more, but he always made sure the biggest slice of the pie ended up in his hands. By 30, the brothers were ready for a bigger move. They packed up and relocated to Romania, a decision that shocked many. But to Andrew, it was genius. Romania had a much lower cost of living, strict rules against antisocial behavior, and most importantly, way friendlier tax policies compared to the UK. Lower corporation taxes, lower self-employment rates. It was the perfect environment for hustlers like them. Andrew believed Romania offered something priceless: personal freedom. And with that move, the Tate brothers gained not only financial flexibility, but the power to expand their empire without the UK breathing down their necks. Andrew Tate flipped the script once again, this time by unleashing a storm of controversial, rage-baiting takes all over the internet. His hot takes spread like wildfire, stirring outrage and curiosity that even caught the eyes of mainstream names like Piers Morgan and countless news outlets. He didn't stop there. Andrew went on a podcast blitz, appearing on shows like Fresh and Fit, the Full Send podcast, Rob Moore's platform, and plenty more. Every appearance fueled his image, making him louder, bolder, and impossible to ignore. By 2023, he had achieved something almost unthinkable. Andrew Tate became the most Googled man on the planet. But Andrew wasn't about to waste that spotlight. Alongside Tristan and their cousin Luke, he launched Hustlers University, a bold online academy aimed at creating an army of money makers. The course wasn't dressed up in boring theory. It focused on actionable, cash-ready skills like copywriting, client acquisition, e-commerce, health and fitness, and content creation. He promised real strategies for real money, and people bought in. The results? Explosive. Tens of thousands of students worldwide signed up, turning Hustlers University into a global phenomenon. Many of them claimed they were pulling in real income, crediting the program for giving them tools they never thought they'd master.
$49 a month to be a member of the real world. How much money do you make out of it?
At the moment, I've made like 75 grand.
That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. I didn't make anything like that in 9 months until I was probably 23, 24. So you've got a massive head start on me. So you're doing exceptionally well, young man. I'm proud of you.
Tate had officially transformed controversy into a full-scale business empire. Soon, the course evolved. Hustlers University was rebranded as The Real World. The upgrade wasn't just a name change. It expanded the curriculum, polished the presentation, and gave the entire operation a layer of professional credibility. Enrollment skyrocketed, and Andrew Tate turned the program into a money-printing machine. Reports claimed his empire was pulling in more than $100 million across ventures. But this wasn't just about stacking millions. It was about influence. The real world became a movement, a cultural storm. Students proudly posted their success stories online, flooding social media with claims that Tate's lessons had turned them into moneymakers. Each post wasn't just free promotion. It was proof, feeding the myth that Andrew Tate wasn't just a fighter, or a loudmouth. He was a mentor who could turn raw ambition into real wealth. Even bands couldn't stop him. TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram all axed his accounts. But Andrew outsmarted the system, shifting to Rumble, a platform that gave him unfiltered access to his army of followers. He redirected his fan base seamlessly, keeping the machine alive while thumbing his nose at big tech. The real world became more than a course. It was a cornerstone of the Tate empire, a symbol of how Andrew Tate could flip controversy, censorship, and pure internet chaos into a global business empire that both educated and empowered a generation of hustlers. They say every empire eventually hits a wall, and for Andrew Tate, that wall didn't come from some rival fighter or business competitor. It came from something far bigger, the Matrix. To Tate, the Matrix isn't just a Hollywood movie. It's his code word for the system itself. In his view, politics, media, banks, big tech, and even law enforcement are all wired together like a giant machine designed to crush anyone who refuses to play by its rules. And once Andrew became the most Googled man on the planet, he claims the Matrix turned its eyes on him. For his fans, this wasn't random. They believed it was a coordinated strike, a warning shot fired at the self-proclaimed top G, but what they didn't know was that this was only the opening move. On December 29th, 2022, the story took a shocking turn. Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan were arrested in Romania, sending shockwaves through the internet and fueling every theory about the Matrix coming for him. Prosecutors came down hard on the Tate brothers, accusing them of human trafficking, building an organized crime group, and even rape. The allegations were explosive.
Under any circumstances. So the day they put that on the news, when they finally take me out, you can know it's a lie. It's haram. I would never kill myself. Lock me in that cell for the rest of my life. I would never.
And the media pounced. Within hours, images of Andrew Tate being hauled away in handcuffs were plastered across every major news outlet on Earth. Overnight, the internet split in two. Some said it was justice finally catching up with him. Others swore it was nothing but a political takedown. The Matrix at work. Thrown into a freezing Romanian cell, Tate's nightmare dragged on. 30 days turned into 60. 60 into 90. Month after month, he sat locked away, waiting while the world outside screamed about whether he was guilty or being framed. And when release finally came, it wasn't true freedom. Instead of bars, it was walls. He was slapped with house arrest, trapped in his own luxury mansion while cameras camped outside his gate and police monitored his every move. His empire still stood, but its king was now living like a prisoner in his own palace. And even that wasn't the end of it. Authorities didn't just lock Tate up, they went after his empire, piece by piece. Luxury cars worth millions were hauled away. His prized watch collection seized, even chunks of his business accounts were frozen solid. To his critics, it looked like the final collapse of a self-proclaimed king, stripped of the flashy empire he had bragged about for years. But to his supporters, it was the ultimate confirmation that the Matrix really was out to destroy him. Then came a twist no one expected. Multiple women stepped forward, not to accuse him, but to defend him. They insisted they had never been trafficked, never been abused, and that the media was spinning lies to paint Tate as a monster. Suddenly, the story wasn't so clear. And here's the irony. The harder they tried to silence him, the louder he became. Clips of his rants and speeches spread across TikTok like wildfire, making him even more influential behind bars than most people are in freedom. Millions of young men clung to his every word. Every photo of him marching into court, shades on, jaw locked tight, turned into a symbol of defiance. To some, he was nothing more than a con man, but to others, he looked like a prophet. By this point, Andrew Tate was no longer just a man, he was a symbol, a living banner of resistance, defiance, and rebellion against what he called the Matrix. His name had turned into something bigger, something untouchable in the eyes of his supporters. And then came the twist no one saw coming. After endless headlines, fiery accusations, and months of legal warfare, the case crumbled. The charges of human trafficking collapsed, the allegations of rape dismissed, the claims of organized crime stripped away. The Romanian courts declared there simply wasn't enough evidence to hold him. The same media that once painted him as a monster now had to report the unthinkable. Andrew Tate walked free. For his critics, it was a bitter pill. But for his followers, it was more than a win. It was undeniable proof. Proof that the top G had gone head-to-head with the Matrix and walked out alive. And so the question echoes louder than ever. If even the Matrix couldn't break him, what on earth could stop him now? And that's where things stand. Andrew Tate's story is no longer just about one man. It's about the way society views power, wealth, influence, and resistance in the modern digital age. To some, he is still a dangerous manipulator who escaped accountability. To others, he is the living proof that truth can survive even the strongest attempts to silence it. But whichever side you fall on, one thing is undeniable. Andrew Tate has cemented himself as one of the most polarizing figures of our time. Because love him or hate him, you can't ignore him. His voice continues to echo across social media. His message continues to attract millions, and his controversies continue to dominate headlines. He has turned every accusation into fuel, every setback into content, and every courtroom battle into a stage. That's the reality of Andrew Tate, a man who thrives in chaos, a man who refuses to bow, and a man who turns scandal into survival. But here's the real question. Where does it all go from here? Will he continue to grow stronger, untouchable in the eyes of his fans? Or is this just the calm before another storm? Only time will tell. So what do you think? Is Andrew Tate truly innocent, unfairly targeted by a broken system? Or is he simply a master manipulator who got away this time? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, because this story is far from over. And if you made it this far, make sure to hit that like button, share this video with others, and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into stories just like this. Until next time, stay curious, stay sharp, and I'll see you in the next one.